There are moments when words do not simply speak to the ear. They awaken the soul. Some truths do not instruct, they transform. The wisdom we often seek in the noise of the world can be found in the quiet voice that calls us back to what is real, what is eternal, and what is good. The first truth whispers through the heart of suffering pain is not punishment, but preparation. We imagine that comfort is the goal of life, but comfort has never built character. It is in the fires of pain that gold is refined. The wounds you bear are not marks of failure, they are the carvings of purpose. When life feels unbearable, remember, even the seed must break before it grows. The struggle is not the end of your story, it is the shaping of your strength. The second truth reminds us that faith is the light that sees beyond reason. There will be seasons when the mind cannot make sense of the storm. Yet the heart knows that even in the dark, there is order beyond our sight. The stars do not vanish when the clouds appear, they only wait for your faith to clear the sky. Trust that goodness is still working in silence, and what feels lost is only being transformed. Then comes the lesson of love, the power that makes us more human. Love is not a fleeting emotion, it is the courage to see others as mirrors of the divine. It teaches humility, demands patience, and frees us from the tyranny of self. Love breaks the chains of pride and teaches the hardest truth, that joy is not found in possessing, but in giving. The fourth truth is the gift of imagination. Imagination is not the art of escape, it is the architecture of meaning. It gives color to faith and form to hope. Before any great act of creation, someone dared to imagine a better world. So dare to dream. The limits of your life are not set by your circumstances, but by the borders of your vision. And finally, the fifth truth. True greatness is born in humility. The proud seek to be admired, the wise seek to understand. When you kneel before what is higher than yourself, you rise into the fullness of who you were meant to be. Humility opens the door to wisdom because it admits there is still more to learn, still more to become. So let these truths settle deeply. Pain refines you. Faith steadies you. Love softens you. Imagination lifts you. Humility transforms you. And when these dwell within you, your life will not merely be lived, it will be awakened. For the measure of a life is not how loudly it is lived, but how deeply it is understood. Pain is not punishment, but preparation. It is the hidden forge where the human spirit is refined and the soul discovers its strength. Many run from it, fearing its sharp edges, its heaviness, its silence. Yet, within the ache of life lies a secret transformation. Pain strips away illusions, dismantles pride, and forces the heart to confront what is real. It has a way of taking what we thought we needed and leaving us with what we truly are. Through suffering, we learn that comfort never taught us endurance, and ease never built the courage to rise again after the fall. The truth is simple, but hard to accept. Pain is not your enemy, it is your greatest teacher in disguise. There are seasons when pain enters uninvited, through loss, betrayal, failure, or the collapse of everything you depended on. In those moments, it feels as though life itself has turned against you. The plans you built crumble like dust, and your prayers seem to echo in a silent heaven. Yet, if you look closer, beneath the surface of despair, something sacred begins to take shape. Pain clears away what is temporary so that the eternal can be seen. It forces you to ask the questions that success silenced. Who am I when everything else is gone? What do I truly value? What is worth holding on to? Pain exposes the roots of the soul, revealing whether they were planted in pride or in truth. In the quiet of suffering, we are confronted with the truth of our own limitations. We learn that control is an illusion, and that strength is not found in avoiding struggle, but in standing firm within it. The fire that burns away your comfort also purifies your vision. It teaches you to see not just what you have lost, but what cannot be taken. Your resilience, your character, your faith. Many search for shortcuts to wisdom, yet it is often the broken path that leads most surely to understanding. Pain humbles the intellect and softens the heart, preparing both to receive the lessons that comfort would never have allowed to enter. When pain comes, it is easy to cry out, "Why me?" But perhaps the more honest question is, what is this teaching me? The moment we begin to seek meaning within suffering, the suffering itself changes shape. It no longer feels like senseless torment, but becomes a refining fire, a process of becoming. A sculptor must chip away at the marble to reveal the statue within. So too must life carve away the unnecessary to reveal the soul's true form. Each blow of the chisel may hurt, yet each one brings forth beauty that was hidden beneath the stone. So, pain is not destruction, it is revelation. In every great life story, there is a valley before the summit. The hero is tested, stripped, and broken before he becomes whole. This is not cruelty, it is preparation. Strength without struggle is an illusion, and character without challenge is hollow. It is through hardship that endurance is born, and through endurance that wisdom grows. The one who has never wept cannot understand the depth of another's tears. The one who has never been wounded cannot truly heal another's wound. Pain gives birth to empathy, the sacred bridge that connects one soul to another. Without it, love remains shallow and compassion incomplete. Consider for a moment how light passes through stained glass. The glass is fractured, yet it is precisely through those fractures that color and beauty emerge. So it is with the human spirit. Your pain may have cracked you, but it is through those very cracks that your light now shines. You become a vessel not of perfection, but of grace. The scars you carry are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you endured what tried to destroy you. The very thing that once broke, you can become the source of your greatest strength, if only you allow it to be transformed. Pain also reorders your vision of life. It teaches you to value moments over possessions, people over pride, depth over display. It awakens gratitude, not for what was easy, but for what endured. The person who has suffered and risen again walks differently. Their steps are slower, their gaze deeper, their words softer. They understand that life is not about escaping pain, but about embracing growth. The storms they once feared now become reminders of how far they have come. There will always be those who see pain as proof of absence of luck, of love, of divine care. But perhaps pain is not absence at all. Perhaps it is the presence of something greater, a call to rise beyond the shallow surface of existence and touch the eternal. Every tear shed, every night endured, every disappointment carried becomes a sacred thread in the tapestry of your becoming. When you finally step back and see the full pattern, you realize it was not chaos, it was craftsmanship. The soul does not grow in comfort, it grows in resistance. The roots of a tree do not deepen in the sunshine, but in the storm. The same law governs your spirit. When the winds of hardship blow, they do not exist to uproot you, but to anchor you deeper. You begin to discover a strength that was not borrowed from the world around you, but born from within you. That is the hidden miracle of pain. It reveals to you the part of yourself that no comfort ever could. So when life presses hard upon you, do not curse the weight. Let it shape you. Let it teach you endurance, humility, and compassion. For when the pain finally passes, what will remain is not the scar, but the strength. You will see that the fire which once threatened to consume you has instead purified you. You will no longer ask, "Why did this happen to me?" but rather, "What has this made of me?" And in that realization, pain will have fulfilled its highest purpose, not to break you, but to make you whole. Faith is the light that sees beyond reason. It is the quiet strength that whispers, "Hold on," when every visible sign says, "Let go." There are moments in life when logic reaches its limit, when answers hide behind walls of uncertainty, and when the heart must decide whether to trust what it cannot see. Faith begins where sight ends. It does not deny the storm. It dares to believe there is a shore beyond it. Reason seeks evidence. Faith listens for assurance. It is not blind belief. It is a deeper knowing, one that rises not from proof, but from presence. When the world grows dim and the path ahead vanishes, faith becomes the unseen hand that leads the soul forward, one trembling step at a time. Every person encounters a season when the light of certainty fades. The plans you made unravel. The people you depended on walk away. The road that once seemed straight and sure disappears into fog. In such times, reason demands an explanation, a pattern, a cause. But faith is not born in explanation. It is born in surrender. It is the courage to walk without knowing where the road will end, believing that meaning exists, even when it cannot be measured. Faith does not remove the questions. It teaches you to rest while they remain unanswered. The test of faith is not how loudly you can proclaim it in comfort, but how quietly you can hold it in the dark. In moments of despair, faith is not an escape from reality, it is a deeper engagement with it. It acknowledges the pain, the confusion, the fear, and yet it chooses hope. It does not pretend the night is day, but it remembers that dawn always follows. Faith is not about denying difficulty, it is about defying despair. The world teaches us to rely on what can be seen and proven, but faith invites us to trust the unseen rhythms that shape existence. There are forces working for your good, even when everything feels against you. Just as seeds germinate in darkness, the foundations of your future are often laid in seasons of uncertainty. When everything falls apart, faith holds the fragments and believes they can still form something beautiful. It is the quiet conviction that there is a purpose woven into every pain, a lesson hidden in every loss. You may not understand it now, but faith allows you to walk through confusion with peace. It tells you that meaning does not vanish simply because you cannot grasp it. To live by faith is to live with the awareness that you are part of something larger than yourself. That your story, with all its heartbreaks and hopes, fits into a greater design that you may only glimpse in time. There is a kind of faith that is loud, confident, and full of words, but the truest faith is often silent. It is the kind that kneels in weakness and whispers, "Still, I believe." It does not demand miracles to prove itself, it is the miracle itself. When reason collapses under the weight of suffering, faith stands where logic cannot. It is not an argument but a relationship, a bond between the soul and the unseen good that sustains it. Faith says, "Even though I do not understand, I will not let go." The mind often wrestles with doubt, but doubt is not the opposite of faith. It is the soil where faith grows. To question is not to abandon belief, but to refine it. The one who never doubts has never truly believed, for faith, by its nature, requires stepping beyond certainty. When you face the unknown and still move forward, that is faith in its purest form. It does not promise ease, but it promises endurance. It reminds you that strength is not found in clarity, but in trust. Consider the stars hidden behind a cloudy night. Though unseen, they are still there, steady in their positions, unmoved by the passing weather. So it is with the unseen good that governs your life. When darkness covers your sky, faith is the knowing that the stars have not vanished. Only your view of them has. The clouds of doubt and fear may linger, but beyond them, light still burns. Faith is not the power to clear the sky instantly. It is the patience to wait until the sky clears itself. Faith also transforms how we see failure. Where reason sees an ending, Faith sees a beginning disguised in loss. The closed door may be protection, not rejection. The unanswered prayer may be guidance, not neglect. The delay may be preparation, not denial. Faith reinterprets reality. It teaches you to look again at what you thought was ruin and see the possibility of redemption. What if the detours in your life are not distractions from your destiny, but the very roads that lead to it? Faith invites you to trust that nothing is wasted, not a tear, not a mistake, not a moment. Faith and reason are not enemies. They are partners that walk together until reason can go no further. Then faith takes your hand and continues the journey. The mind builds the bridge, but faith is what crosses it. The rational mind asks, "What if I fall?" Faith replies, "What if you fly?" It dares to believe in goodness, even when experience gives you every reason to doubt it. It sees meaning where reason sees chaos, order where logic sees randomness, beauty where the world sees only brokenness. Faith does not need to know the ending to find peace in the process. It accepts that some answers are meant to unfold, not to be forced. Just as you trust the sunrise though the night feels endless, faith trusts that light will return even when you cannot see its first glow. It is not naive optimism, it is resilient hope. It does not promise that life will be easy, only that it will be worth it. When life grows silent and the heavens seem distant, faith whispers that you are still seen, still held, still guided. It teaches that what is invisible is often more enduring than what is visible. The unseen roots of a tree sustain it more than its visible branches. Likewise, unseen faith sustains the visible life. To live by faith is to walk with open hands, not grasping for control, but receiving whatever comes with grace. It is to live with the steady confidence that even when the path disappears, the destination remains sure. And though you cannot see the whole picture now, faith assures you that the artist never left the canvas. Love is the greatest teacher. It does not lecture, it transforms. It softens what pride has hardened and opens the heart to truths that the mind alone could never grasp. Love begins quietly, often as compassion, as understanding, as the willingness to see another not as an obstacle, but as a mirror. Through love, we learn that the measure of our lives is not found in what we acquire or accomplish, but in how deeply we connect, how willingly we forgive, and how sincerely we care. Love is not a fleeting emotion, it is a sacred discipline. It is the art of learning to see beyond yourself, to feel the pulse of another's heart, as though it were your own. Many mistake love for weakness, but it is the fiercest strength the soul can know. Love demands vulnerability, the courage to give without guarantee, to trust even when past wounds whisper, "Do not." To love is to risk being broken, but to live without love is to remain unformed. Pain and love walk hand in hand, for love reveals the depth of your humanity. It teaches you that real joy is not found in being adored, but in adoring. The heart learns to expand through both tenderness and loss, through the giving and the letting go. Every time you choose love when bitterness would be easier, you stretch the capacity of your soul. Love's first lesson is humility. It dismantles the illusion of superiority and reminds you that every person you meet carries the same fragile humanity as you. The proud heart cannot love, for pride builds walls, love builds bridges. It teaches you to listen more than you speak, to understand before you judge. Love does not seek victory in an argument, but harmony in understanding. It knows that being right is small compared to being kind. Through love, the heart becomes a quiet servant rather than a loud master. There are moments when love feels costly, when it requires more than you think you can give. It asks for patience when anger burns, compassion when resentment tempts, forgiveness when hurt lingers. Yet, it is precisely in these moments that love becomes divine. Anyone can love when it is easy. The true test is to love when it hurts. Love is not proven in the sweetness of agreement, but in the endurance of conflict. It holds steady when others waver. It hopes when all else fails. In that steadfastness, love purifies the soul, teaching endurance, mercy, and grace. Love is also the great revealer of truth. It shows you who you are, not through words, but through reflection. When you love deeply, your insecurities surface, your fears are exposed, your impatience revealed. Love uncovers the unhealed parts of you, not to shame you, but to heal you. It holds up a mirror so that you can see yourself clearly and grow. Those who love honestly understand that love is both comfort and challenge. It consoles you when you fall, but it also calls you higher, demanding that you become worthy of what you have been given. In its purest form, love is not a transaction but a transformation. It gives without seeking repayment. It serves without recognition. It forgives without condition. Love does not keep score, it keeps faith. It is not a possession to be held tightly, but a flame to be shared freely. When you love from such a place, you discover that love multiplies. The more you give, the more you have. It expands beyond you, touching others in ways unseen, rippling through the world with quiet power. Love also teaches you about time. It shows that relationships are not built in grand gestures, but in small, consistent acts of care. A word of encouragement, a patient ear, a gentle hand. These become the bricks with which love constructs its eternal home. Love is not measured by intensity, but by consistency. It asks for presence, the willingness to show up again and again, even when life grows difficult or dull. To love is to commit your attention, to give your energy, to say, I will stay. And in staying, love shapes both giver and receiver into something stronger, something enduring. When love is misunderstood, people chase its shadow, affection without sacrifice, desire without devotion. But true love is not a momentary flame, it is a lifelong light. It is the steady warmth that remains when passion fades. It is not dependent on circumstances or perfection. Love is not about finding someone flawless. It is about seeing someone clearly and choosing them anyway. It forgives imperfection because it recognizes its own. Love's beauty lies not in the absence of flaws, but in the presence of grace. Love is also the antidote to fear. Fear isolates, love connects. Fear closes the hand, love opens it. Fear sees differences, love sees the divine in all. The one who loves cannot hate, for love dissolves the very root of hatred, ignorance. It teaches empathy, showing you that every person carries unseen struggles, hidden hopes, and silent prayers. Love invites you to respond with gentleness rather than judgment. To love the unlovable is to glimpse the heart of eternity itself. In the face of suffering, love endures when all else fails. It visits the sick, comforts the grieving, stands beside the broken. Love gives meaning to loss, transforming sorrow into compassion. Those who have suffered deeply often love most deeply, for they understand the sacredness of every human heart. Love binds the wounds of the world, not through force, but through tenderness. It turns strangers into kin, enemies into friends, and despair into hope. To live in love is to live awake, to see life not as competition, but as communion. It turns the ordinary into holy ground, a shared meal, a listening ear, a quiet smile. Every act of love, no matter how small, pushes back the darkness a little more. And though love may cost you your comfort, it will give you something far greater, peace. For love aligns you with what is eternal, reminding you that you were not made merely to survive, but to give, to heal, and to illuminate. Through love, life becomes more than existence, it becomes meaning itself. It binds the broken pieces of humanity into one story, teaching that we rise not by climbing over others, but by lifting them. The one who truly loves discovers that joy is not in being loved perfectly, but in loving purely. Love teaches that the heart's true strength is not in how much it can hold, but in how freely it can give. And once the soul learns that lesson, it needs no other teacher. Imagination is not escapism, it is the vision that shapes destiny. It is the divine spark that allows the human mind to see what does not yet exist, and to believe in what the eyes cannot yet behold. Every invention, every work of art, every act of courage began first as a vision within someone's imagination. Before a bridge was built, it was seen in the mind of an engineer. Before a symphony was written, it was heard in the silence of a composer's soul. Imagination is the birthplace of all creation. It takes the unseen and makes it visible, the impossible and makes it inevitable. It is not fantasy, but faith in visual form, the ability to hold a picture of what could be until it becomes what is. Yet, many dismiss imagination as childish, something to be outgrown when life grows serious. But the truth is that imagination is the engine of progress, the language of hope. Without it, life becomes mechanical, stripped of color and wonder. Imagination allows you to look beyond your present limitations and see the hidden potential within them. It turns the walls of circumstance into doorways of opportunity. The dreamers of the world are often misunderstood because they refuse to live only by what they can see. They dare to believe that reality is not fixed but fluid, shaped by the vision of the heart and the courage of the will. Imagination gives the soul wings. It takes you beyond what is and points you toward what can be. When the world tells you to accept defeat, imagination whispers that a higher story is being written. It allows you to hold on to hope, even when reason says there is none. For imagination is not about denying reality, it is about reimagining it. It does not ignore the pain of the present, but it sees the possibility of transformation within it. When you imagine healing, you take the first step toward recovery. When you imagine peace, you begin to sow it in your words and actions. When you imagine purpose, you awaken the strength to pursue it. Through imagination, we learn to see the invisible threads that connect all things. The way beauty can rise from ashes, the way darkness can birth light. Imagination teaches that nothing is final, every ending hides a beginning. It allows you to interpret failure not as a full stop, but as a comma in a longer sentence. Those who live without imagination see the world as it is. Those who live with it help the world become what it should be. It is not arrogance to imagine something greater. It is obedience to the creative force that made you capable of vision. Imagination also deepens understanding. It enables empathy, the ability to step into another's experience and see the world through their eyes. To imagine another's pain is to open your heart to compassion. To imagine their joy is to celebrate what is good beyond yourself. This is why imagination is not merely a tool for artists or dreamers, but for anyone who wishes to live fully human. It is through imagination that we bridge differences, dissolve prejudice, and recognize the shared humanity beneath our separate stories. It allows love to expand and wisdom to grow. The imagination is also the workshop of faith. It paints pictures of the unseen, giving substance to hope. Before the hands can build, the mind must first envision. You cannot become what you cannot first imagine yourself to be. Imagination does not create truth, but it reveals the potential hidden within it. It is not wishful thinking, it is purposeful seeing. When you imagine a better version of yourself, wiser, kinder, braver, you give your spirit a direction to grow toward. The life you live externally begins with the world you build internally. Imagination is the quiet rebellion against despair. Despair says, "This is all there is." Imagination replies, "This is not the end." It keeps the human heart alive when all else seems lost. History's greatest breakthroughs were born in the minds of those who refused to surrender their vision. They imagined light when others accepted darkness. They imagined freedom when others bowed to chains. Imagination fuels resilience because it reminds you that your story is not confined to your current chapter. It whispers that you are both author and character, and that as long as imagination breathes within you, new pages can always be written. To imagine rightly, however, requires purity of intention. Imagination can build or destroy, uplift or deceive. When guided by wisdom and love, it becomes creation. When driven by fear or pride, it becomes illusion. The discipline of imagination lies in directing it toward truth and goodness. It is not enough to dream, one must dream rightly. To imagine not only what benefits the self, but what blesses the whole. When imagination is yoked with virtue, it becomes a sacred act, the collaboration between human spirit and divine purpose. Imagination also gives meaning to suffering. It allows you to see purpose where pain seems pointless. In your darkest hours, imagination reminds you that what feels like ruin may be the beginning of renewal. It takes the raw material of hardship and envisions transformation. It sees the seed within the soil of sorrow. Without imagination, pain becomes a prison with it. Pain becomes a passage. To imagine redemption is to keep hope alive until it becomes real. Even in the smallest acts, imagination breathes life into existence. It turns an ordinary day into a story worth telling. It helps you see beauty in the mundane. Sunlight on the floor, laughter shared, a single act of kindness. It allows gratitude to flourish because it expands perception. The unimaginative life is dull not because the world lacks wonder, but because the eyes have forgotten how to see. Imagination restores sight, color, and sacredness to what once seemed ordinary. The true gift of imagination is that it aligns you with creation itself. It calls you to participate in the ongoing work of making the world anew. Every dream that uplifts, every vision that heals, every idea that serves, these are acts of imagination grounded in love. To imagine is to cooperate with destiny, to join in the eternal unfolding of what could be. Imagination reminds you that you are not merely a spectator in life's story, you are a co-creator of its beauty. When imagination and faith meet, they become unstoppable. Imagination shows you the vision, faith gives you the courage to pursue it. Together, they move mountains that reason alone could never touch. Through imagination, you glimpse eternity in the present. Through faith, you bring that vision to life. To live without imagination is to live half awake. To imagine is to see the divine handwriting in the margins of every moment, and to know that your life, too, is part of a masterpiece still being written. Humility is the doorway to wisdom. The proud cannot learn. True humility is not self-deprecation or weakness. It is the quiet strength that recognizes both the greatness and the limits of the self. It is the awareness that whatever knowledge, talent, or achievement we possess is not entirely our own, but a gift entrusted to us for a higher purpose. The humble heart does not deny its worth. It simply refuses to exalt itself above others. Humility is clarity, the ability to see oneself as one truly is, without the distortions of pride or insecurity. It is the soil in which wisdom takes root, because only the open heart can receive truth without resistance. Pride is the veil that blinds the mind, convincing a person that they already know, already understand, already stand above correction. The proud may appear strong, but their foundation is fragile, built on constant comparison and the need for validation. Humility, on the other hand, is freedom. It releases you from the exhausting pursuit of being seen as superior. It allows you to listen, to learn, to grow. The humble person is teachable, the proud is trapped in their own echo. Wisdom flows toward humility like water flows to the lowest ground. When you bow before truth, it raises you higher than pride ever could. Humility begins with self-awareness. It is the quiet acknowledgement of your dependence on others, on grace, on the unseen forces that sustain life. No one creates alone, no one succeeds in isolation. the breath you take, the opportunities that meet you, the strength that carries you through hardship. None are entirely your doing. Humility teaches gratitude for the invisible hands that guide and support your journey. It reminds you that even in your greatest triumphs, you are standing on the shoulders of countless others' parents, teachers, friends, and strangers whose efforts paved your way. Gratitude and humility are inseparable twins. One cannot exist without the other. The humble heart does not think less of itself. It simply thinks of itself less often. It is not consumed with its own reflection, but is attentive to the needs and beauty of the world around it. Humility shifts focus outward, from self-promotion to service, from personal glory to shared good. It listens before speaking, seeks to understand before being understood. Such a heart finds joy not in applause, but in quiet contribution. True fulfillment comes not from being admired, but from being useful, from knowing that one's actions have brought light or comfort to another soul. Humility also transforms the way we see failure. The proud person fears failure because it threatens their image. The humble person learns from it because it reveals truth. To the humble, failure is not humiliation but education. Every mistake becomes a mirror reflecting what must be refined, every setback a lesson in patience, discipline, and resilience. The proud hide their wounds, the humble heal through them. In this way, humility becomes the shield of the strong, allowing them to endure criticism and defeat without losing dignity or purpose. In relationships, humility is the foundation of peace. It dissolves the poison of arrogance and the need to be right. When humility guides the heart, conflicts lose their sting. The humble do not cling to pride in argument. They value harmony over victory. They know that gentleness achieves what aggression cannot. Humility allows forgiveness to flow, for only the humble can admit they were wrong or accept the apology of another. It softens the hardest hearts, heals broken bonds, and replaces resentment with understanding. Pride builds walls, humility opens doors. Humility also deepens wisdom because it creates space for wonder. The proud believe they have seen all there is to see. The humble stand in awe of mystery. They look at the vastness of the universe, the complexity of life, the beauty of the unseen, and realize how small their knowledge truly is. This awareness does not diminish them, it expands them. The more they see their smallness, the more they glimpse the greatness of truth. Wisdom begins with the phrase, "I do not know." From that confession springs curiosity, openness, and reverence for learning. In leadership, humility separates the tyrant from the true guide. The arrogant leader commands, the humble one inspires. The proud demand loyalty, the humble earn it. Humility in leadership is strength under control. The willingness to serve rather than dominate, to lift others rather than stand above them. The humble leader listens to those below, values every contribution, and admits when they are wrong. They understand that leadership is not about being the most important person in the room, but about making everyone in the room feel important. Greatness built on pride collapses, greatness built on humility endures. Humility also guards against the illusion of control. Life often humbles those who try to master it. Circumstances change, plans crumble, and achievements fade. Humility accepts this impermanence without bitterness. It teaches flexibility, the art of bending rather than breaking. The humble person does not fight against the flow of life, but learns to move with it. They accept what cannot be changed and focus on what can. In this acceptance lies serenity, for humility is the peace of the soul that no storm can shake. Humility is not passive, it is active surrender. It is the strength to yield when yielding is wise, to stay silent when words would wound, to serve when pride would prefer to be served. It does not seek recognition, but rejoices in the success of others. It measures worth not by status, but by integrity. In humility, one learns that the truest form of greatness is gentleness, the power to act without arrogance, to lead without boasting, to shine without blinding. The proud heart may rise faster, but it falls harder. The humble heart may seem slower, but it grows deeper. Humility builds character brick by brick. Patience, kindness, compassion, honesty, until the soul becomes a dwelling place of peace. Pride seeks to be seen, humility seeks to see, and in seeing clearly, it perceives the hidden beauty in others and the quiet hand of grace at work in all things. Humility, ultimately, is alignment, the harmony between the self and truth. It allows the heart to rest, free from the need to prove, free from the fear of being less. It makes one teachable, approachable, and wise. The humble are never stagnant because they are always learning, always growing. Wisdom flows to them naturally, for they have made room for it. Just as a vessel must be emptied before it can be filled, so must the soul be emptied of pride to receive understanding. And in that emptiness, there is fullness, the fullness of peace, of purpose, of truth. For when humility dwells within, wisdom follows, and the soul becomes both strong and still, strong enough to stand firm in truth, and still enough to hear the quiet whisper of wisdom that pride can never hear. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the courage to move forward in spite of it. The human heart often wrestles with uncertainty, torn between the visible and the unseen, the known and the mysterious. Faith is the bridge that allows the soul to step into the unknown, to trust that there is purpose even in the dark. It does not demand understanding before obedience, nor clarity before action. Faith acts where sight fails. It is the strength to walk through fog, believing that the road continues even when the eyes cannot see. Doubt tests faith, but faith transforms doubt into depth. Without struggle, faith remains shallow. Without darkness, belief never learns to see. The true nature of faith is not blind optimism, but deep-rooted trust. Trust that there is meaning behind every delay, that every unanswered prayer has a hidden answer, that every detour carries direction. Faith whispers in the silence where reason finds no voice. It sustains the weary when all logic says to quit. It is not a passive waiting, but an active surrender, a quiet endurance that keeps the heart steady while the storm rages around it. Faith does not erase pain, but it redeems it. It does not prevent loss, but it transforms it into wisdom. It teaches that life's greatest strength is not found in certainty, but in resilience. Faith grows strongest in the soil of adversity. When everything is easy, belief remains theoretical. But when life strips away comfort, when prayers seem unanswered and the night grows long, that is when faith either breaks or becomes real. It is in these moments that the soul learns to stand not on circumstances, but on conviction. The fire of trial refines faith as gold is refined in flame. What once was mere sentiment becomes substance. What once was belief in words becomes belief in being. The faith that endures hardship emerges unshakable, not because it has never doubted, but because it has wrestled with doubt and found peace beyond it. Faith is the quiet defiance of despair. It looks at impossibility and still whispers, "There is a way." It stands before brokenness and believes that healing can come. It sees emptiness and trusts that fullness will return. Faith does not deny the presence of suffering, it redefines it. It believes that pain is not punishment but preparation, that loss is not the end but transformation. Faith perceives the unseen architecture of divine purpose behind every disappointment. It allows the heart to hope when there is no visible reason to. In this way, faith is not naive. It is courageous realism, the choice to believe that love and goodness will have the final word, even when evidence says otherwise. The journey of faith is never straight. It moves through valleys and peaks, through nights of silence and mornings of revelation. There are moments when faith feels unshakable, when light pours in from every side, and there are moments when it feels like a fragile thread held together only by tears. Yet both are sacred. The trembling faith of a broken heart is no less holy than the bold faith of a triumphant one. In fact, faith that trembles is often the most authentic, for it trusts not in its own strength, but in something greater. True faith does not always roar. Sometimes it is a whisper that refuses to die. Faith and patience are inseparable companions. Faith gives vision, patience gives endurance. Faith believes the seed will bloom, patience waits for the season. Many lose heart because they confuse delay with denial, but faith teaches that divine timing is never wrong. The waiting period is not wasted. It is where character matures, where roots deepen unseen. The unseen work of waiting prepares the soul for the visible fruit of promise. When faith walks hand in hand with patience, despair has no room to dwell. The humble heart learns to trust not only the destination, but the process, not only the promise, but the journey toward it. Faith is not confined to religion. It is the essence of all growth. Every act of courage is an act of faith. Faith in purpose, faith in goodness, faith in the worth of one's struggle. The artist believes in beauty before it exists on the canvas. The teacher believes in potential before the student sees it. The builder believes in structure before the foundation is complete. Every dream, every creation, every meaningful act begins with faith. The belief that what is unseen can become real. Faith breathes life into vision and turns thought into transformation. Faith also teaches humility. It reminds us that control is an illusion, that certainty is a fragile comfort. To live by faith is to accept mystery, to embrace the unknown without fear. It is to admit that life's greatest truths are not always visible to the eye, but felt by the heart. Faith does not demand to see the entire path. It asks only for light enough for the next step. In that next step lies freedom. Freedom from anxiety, from the need to predict or manipulate the future. Faith teaches surrender, not as defeat, but as liberation, the release of what cannot be controlled into the hands of what can be trusted. In the face of fear, faith speaks softly but powerfully. You are not alone. It is the assurance that even in the silence, there is presence, even in confusion, there is guidance. Faith transforms fear by shifting focus from the uncertainty of the future to the constancy of meaning. The fearful mind says, "What if everything falls apart?" Faith replies, "What if everything falls into place?" The same circumstances remain, but the perspective changes, and that change gives strength. Fear imprisons, faith releases. Faith ultimately reshapes the soul into one of resilience and peace. It teaches acceptance without apathy, endurance without bitterness, hope without illusion. The person of faith is not unshaken because life is easy, but because their roots are deep. They have learned that even in the darkest night, stars still exist. They are simply hidden from sight, and faith waits patiently, knowing that dawn will reveal them again. Faith is the unseen hand that steadies the trembling heart. It carries us across the bridge between despair and purpose, between confusion and clarity, between loss and renewal. It is the song that continues when words fail, the pulse that beats beneath brokenness, the light that flickers but never dies. It does not eliminate uncertainty. It transcends it. Faith is the quiet power that turns doubt into discovery, suffering into strength, and the unknown into the birthplace of miracles.